So today we got a question that goes, yo, Elliot, was there ever a time or someone or something seemed to try to get between you and your relationship with your wife? It's almost like some sort of wicked force trying to meddle into your affairs and break up your family. If so, how did you safeguard yourself against it? Great question, bro. And before we go, I want you to know that Uncle Yo wants to answer your question too, or at least just give my opinion or an insight or just have a conversation about what's going on with you. So if that's you, put a comment down below in this video. I'll come back and check it out and maybe make you a video too. In terms of something getting in between my wife and I and trying to ruin relationships, by the grace of God, there really haven't been very many, if at all, any things like that. But there is a deep primordial movement within man and woman that can, if not checked or recognized, can absolutely get between us. And I know the way you phrase that question is like spiritual warfare, but I'm talking sexual warfare. I'm talking like primal power warfare, root chakra shit. And for a man, it's pleasure. And for a woman, it's power. If anything is going to get in between a man and a woman in a relationship, it is the imagination that springs up images of pleasure in a man and pretensions towards power in the woman. And you see this in the origin story in the garden, right? So Eve, in her desire to usurp power over her husband, tickles him with something pleasurable. Hey, there's this tasty fruit you should have. And I'm not, saying that the story is literal. I'm not saying that it's not literal, but what I am saying is that literarily it tells us a whole lot about the nature of sexuality, intersexual dynamics. And for a man, the way I heard it put is that our sin is always the sin of dereliction, derelicting our duties because it's tough to not indulge in things that seem pleasurable. So in most relationships, when it comes to what's going to get in between the man and the woman on the man's part, it's usually going to be in the form of some form of sexual indulgence. Hey, there's another chick there that looks good. I want to dip my spoon into that pudding, right? Or a derelict of duty, meaning laziness. I don't want to do the things that keep this relationship thriving. It's just tough. She's always asking me for stuff. Loving is challenging, especially when you got a henpecking wife, right? So it's always some sort of sink into pleasure or laziness. Effeminacy is how Thomas Aquinas described it. And of course, I'm a man. I have effeminate tendencies, and there are times when I see things that pleasure the eye, but it's never been to such a degree that it would cause strife between she and me. And the same for women on the other side. It's power, right? So for women, they say a man will cheat on a woman because he just wants to have sex. It's like, all right, this looks like fun to have sex. Women cheat mostly because because they see that there's a better option that would give them an elevated status, right? Like oftentimes women will leave a man because this is a better man, right? There's a better man. He makes more money. He's taller. He's more desirable to other women, not even to her. It doesn't even have to, women are a little different like that. Like they want what other women want, where a man will just want what he wants. That's why guys will like chubby chase, right? Guys will have sex with like any fat, ugly girl in many cases. Like, I'm not gonna marry you, but I'll have sex with you. Or a woman is a little bit different. That man needs to be desirable to other women, for her to want to be with him. So the thing that's going to get in between also is like when it comes to power for the woman, a lot of times, if she can't push you around or tell you what to do, or if she can't put her boot on your neck and get you to move, that makes her very uncomfortable, right? Power, pleasure, and power. Those are the two things that are generally going to cause us to that are going to get in between our love, and ruin our relationship. And it really, of course, is a function of our lowest nature. I used the word primordial before, our primal nature, but you know what that is? That means it's our animal nature, it's our lower nature, it's our most base emotions that generally tend to sabotage our relationships. And you speak in terms of like entities. And although I avoided that in the beginning, there is an enemy. There is an enemy. The enemy was there at the garden. The enemy's here now, and he's a literal flesh and bone enemy. He's here, right? He acts through men, and he knows that the way to destroy the world, destroy humanity, destroy a country, destroy a culture, destroy a city, is by destroying intersexual harmony between the genders. I mean, he started as the first thing that Satan did in the garden. First thing he did, he was like, all right, let me get between these two, right? And it's no different today, only that, I don't want to say he's much more insidious and sneaky, because he was pretty sneaky back then, being a snake. But it comes in different ways today. Like me growing up in the 90s watching MTV, right? I didn't have TikTok, but I definitely had degenerate television, watching MTV, and the way the women would dress and the way they would act, and the seduction that was constantly being produced through the screen and pumped into my brain made me think that I'm supposed to have a certain sort of sexual lifestyle, right? And the same thing with women, right? We're constantly being seduced through the TV to live a certain way that is pleasurable to our lowest nature. The music, the movies, the media, and even the law, even school, right? The Department of Education, like they've watered down and blurred the lines between men and women. There was a time when boys and girls went to separate schools so that they could be raised up in their individual virtue. And then when they come together, they're stronger as individuals. They have stronger egos, and they can come together and they can be together better. But when you blend them together and they confuse the gender lines, everybody's fucking confused. And it creates boys who think and act and behave like girls because that's what's they're told in the schools, and it's what's trendy. And you got girls, and like there's a little bit of a shame associated with boys, like, oh, you're a sissy, right? But with girls, it's so much more insidious because they're told that it's empowering to be like a man. Well, you got to strive, and you got to fight, and you got to achieve, and you got to climb that mountain just like a man. And you can do what any man can do. When you say that to a man, you can do what any girl can do. Well, most men aren't going to take that very lightly. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's so funny because like with transgenderism, like you've got all these men that are doing women better than women are doing women, right? With the sports and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, right? Men do women better than men do men. Men do men and women. And women, it's a little bit different, right? So, but the world is constantly telling them, oh, you can do it. You can do whatever any man can do. You can be just like a man, right? And all the women are like, yes, you can be just like a man. You can do everything a man can do, right? Right? That's how you know how you know that it's actually, feminism is actually a hate movement against women, because it doesn't teach them how to love what only they can do. It teaches them that they need to be more like men, right? Pretends like it hates men, but it's what Freud would call penis envy, right? And so feminism and Marxism and socialism and communism and atheism and all these isms that are trendy in our day are all anti-familyism, anti-femininity, anti-masculinity, right? So the world is stacked against you in your relationship, if that's the case, if that's what you're talking about. The world is stacked against harmony between the genders. And I think we're at the darkest moment. I think we're at the peak. I think we're at the darkest right before the sun rises. And I can only see that things are going to get better from here. But for sure, the greatest attack that Satan would make is against marriage and the family. Marriage and the family. Marriage and the family. He's attacking us. Do you know anything about the apparition at Fatima and Sister Lucia? She said, yeah, Our Lady told her that the final battle, right? Think about it this way. The final battle, and we're fighting that battle right now, is between Satan and the family. And so that's where we are, man. And, I can only imagine that things are going to get better because right now we have an epidemic of broken homes. And it's because of this very thing that gets in between men and women that really harps on our lowest nature, dude. So I hope that conversation was helpful to you. I enjoyed speaking with you. Until next time, done.